Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 1. Dan, how you doing, bro?
Very good, mate. Very good indeed. It feels so much better coming out. I tweeted last week. It's like it feels so good to come on these podcasts and be smiling. Just be here, like actually beaming and having a nice conversation for once. Because, mate, I absolutely love talking to you. But for the longest time, talking to you has been such
Yeah,
a miserable experience. So it's nice to actually spend some quality time with you, mate, and be sat here talking to each other with a smile on our face, isn't it?
absolutely. And it's a massive win. 75% win rate for Stephen Gerrard thus far. Big Tim Sherwood energy that. But I mean, it's a near perfect start with some tough games coming up, Dan. Leicester, on paper, presented a few difficult challenges that I think maybe didn't translate as well in the game. I felt like going into this game, Villa probably had a fair few chances that they could take. I mean, I look at the Leicester lineup, Dan, Dewsbury Hall. I mean, you can just tell that kid votes Conservative. It's not the strongest Leicester side. Jamie Vardy sat on the bench. This Leicester side, of course, you've got to be careful of Leicester. I mean, at the King Power, we snatched it late on thanks to Ross Barkley last season. And then I think that they did us on our own ground, didn't they?
Yeah.
Under the lockdown with that ridiculous James Maddison celebration. But we all know what Leicester are capable of. We've seen how dangerous Patson Daka is in European competitions. So although I felt like Leicester weren't to be taken lightly, I really felt like Villa had a very good chance of winning this game. And of course, as things transpired, mate, that's just how it was.
Yeah, it was. I think collectively, we all like there was a big sigh of relief when we saw that Jamie Vardy wasn't in the starting lineup because he loves it. He loves, especially he's got a good record against the Villa and everything like that. And he started against Southampton, which was interesting. So I thought, considering he was available, it was interesting that they started with him on the bench. There was a few changes to their team. They had Sumare playing against Southampton as well, so they did change it up a little bit more than perhaps I was expecting. I thought it was quite bold to put Dewsbury Hall into that midfield, although he's rated quite highly there. But there's still a lot of threat in that team. I mean, you look, there's so much pace in that sort of front four. If you look at Lookman and Daka with Barnes, Maddison as well. I like Castagna at fullback as well. So there's a lot to be frightened about in that Leicester team, and I thought that they posed a threat of their own at times. And I wouldn't quite go as far to say that we nullified them completely. They still had 60% of the ball. 12 shots, we had 13. They had more shots on target than we did. So I don't think it was a very good defensive performance. We didn't quite shut them out, but the one thing I think we did do really well was just control the game. It never really felt like it slipped away from us, even when we went 1-0 down. It never really felt like the game was beyond our reach. Even when we had, as I said, the stats said, they had about 20% more possession than we did. It always felt like we had a good footing in the game, that we were sort of dictating it on our own terms, if you like, counter-attacking in the way that we did, the defensive shape, and those sort of knowing when to press and when we don't is something that we've really seemed to master under Stevie G. Those moments when to go, when to drop deep. It seems to be something that we've worked really hard on. He spoke early on about how important what Villa did without the ball was going to be to his system. And it feels like we've got a really good grip on that. And I think in these kind of games, mate, even when we haven't got most of the ball, it still feels like Villa have got a good foothold in terms of dictating the game, especially at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, something that was really impressive, going 1-0 down and then to equalise 3 minutes later, I think that was massive, because I feel like if we didn't get that goal, Villa Park could have gone a little bit toxic. I'll probably get some comments about this, but I do think that, sometimes if we go too long without a goal, there's always the groans if someone misplaces it. I mean, there was one, there was a pass that McGinn made, and it was completely a percentage pass, but he had nothing else on, and there's blokes behind me who are groaning like he's just handed them an equaliser, when he's in actual fact he's just passed the ball 20 yards in the Leicester half. Like, yeah, we've lost possession, but if he didn't have anything else on, it's just one of them things. So it was really important, I feel, to keep the mood up. I mean, the atmosphere in general was just really good last night. So credit to Villa fans. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame really for Emi Buendia, because I don't think he's probably ever going to score another Hedges goal in his career. And Ezri Konsa was there to sort of nick it off the line for him, Dan. 2 goals for Ezri Konsa yesterday. I mean, this guy, wow. I mean, if I'm being super picky, I felt like he defended quite narrow on a few occasions, and really left Kashi sort of hung out to dry on a few occasions, dealing with Barnes. But I mean, overall, 2 goals from your defender. Ezri is a solid 7 out of 10 every week, and was the same again yesterday, mate. Honestly, he was fantastic, wasn't he? I mean, SofaScore have gotten down as an 8.2. The last Premier League defender to score a brace for Aston Villa was Kieran Clark back in 2007, I believe, Dan.
Wow, mate. Wow. There's a stat I was really hoping for. I didn't know where to. That's really good that you come up with that, mate. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Ezri is, I sort of felt like he'd fallen off the radar a little bit. Would you agree with that? It feels like he was this season. He hasn't quite hit the same heights that he had hit last season. And I think I have to credit the whole back line, really. I mean, Ezri stood out, obviously, because he gets the goal, but Tyrone's been magnificent, I think, since Gerrard's come in. I think he's really won the Villa fans over. I feel like everyone's still, that concentration time bomb that everyone talks about, never seems to be coming. Tyrone's been magnificent, and it's great because these boys, Ezri included, that this is what they can do, and that's why I think it's been frustrating at times when we have made mistakes or have started chipping goals, because we know how good these boys are. And yeah, okay, we didn't get the clean sheet yesterday, but we were playing a very good side, and at the moment, it's not really about clean sheets. We can worry about clean sheets when we're in the part of the table that we want to be. We're up to 10th now. All that mattered in these first sort of 5 games under Stevie was just getting points on the board, putting as much distance between us and that red line as we could have done. And we've done a brilliant job of that. To take 9 points from these first 12 was great. And we're chipping in with goals from all over the pitch. When you think Tiggs gets a goal last week, John's getting a goal last week, you've got Konsa getting 2 today. It seems like we're spreading the goals out nicely. Because, as I said, we've under previous seasons, it's been a bit like, especially with Grealish, if he didn't score, if he didn't get an assist, we'd be struggling. So it's nice to see a more well-rounded approach to getting goals. And nice for Ezri to finally get that goal in front of the whole 10 as well, because I was watching his post-match and obviously referenced that Watford goal, which was his, but then wasn't. And he's been waiting a long time to get that. So and even with the first one, it was obviously attributed to Buendia. So there's even some controversy about whether it was or wasn't his. Obviously, you do see he gets the tiniest of touches, but that second one is outright his, mate. No one can take that from you.
I mean, 17 points if you had him in fantasy, Dan. I took Konsa out at the start of Villa's poor run and haven't put him back in. So that's a point haul that I think a lot of people may have missed out on. But no, Matt, I want to talk about Matty Cash, Dan, because I don't want people to get this wrong. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I love him to pieces. The man can't cross. The man just can't cross. And it's becoming a problem because, I mean, from 5 crosses, he only had 1 accurate cross. Considering this man was a winger, that's why I don't understand why there's no sort of end product from him. He's everything you want in a fullback. He's swashbuckling, he makes the tackles. He made 9 tackles yesterday, 5 interceptions, blocked a shot, made a clearance off the line. You couldn't ask for more from your fullback. If I'm being really anal about it, then I could, because I felt like he could have got to Barnes a bit closer on occasion. But we've won the game. I'm willing to let that slide. I really feel like at the moment, obviously, we've got the 3 wins. That's absolutely amazing. Villa are missing some glaringly obvious chances, Dan. I think, Ollie had a chance where he sat Schmeichel down in the second half. Konsa's against Man City, pretty much bearing down on goal, manages to miss. Matty Cash could have had a goal as well. If he could actually, look for the far post, which is a bit frustrating. I'm excited, of course. I'm loving everything that's going on under Gerrard. These things need to be coached out of players. Matty Cash has to be able to put the ball into the box and find someone. I'm sick I'm sick of these crosses going out for throw-ins or not finding someone on the back post, mate. Or sometimes even just hopelessly putting it to the back post when no one's there. Like, again, I love Matty Cash, but there needs to be some end product from him, mate.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, mate, because I feel like Matty Cash is probably an example because I feel like he puts more crosses in than many other players, but I don't feel like our crossing is that great generally, to be honest. I mean, as a collective, I say this knowing that obviously yesterday we scored 2 headers, which means that I clearly don't know what I'm talking about when I say this, but the crossing generally just seems to, in play, set pieces are brilliant, but in play we seem to let ourselves down a little bit. Matty is, as you say, probably the prime example there. And I think that's what it's annoying because if he could add that to his game, then that's the difference between him and these top level, England right backs that are keeping him. Well, I was going to say keeping him out of the England squad that are now put him in the Poland squad. I'm assuming that he felt like he couldn't get ahead of those boys, and that's why he's gone to Poland. And I think that's the difference. Is that Trent can put those balls in, Reece James can put those balls in. All these guys have got that in that locker. And Matty does everything that those guys do in terms of their work rate. I love how aggressive he is. I feel he's come on in leaps and bounds. I thought he had a good debut season last year, and I think he's come on again this year. Absolutely love his all-round game, but it's just that end product that I think is what separates a good fullback from a great one. And if Matty can take that step, mate, then I think he's one of the better fullbacks in the league because he has everything. He has everything at that point. And I think his days in, as you said, on the wing, I think he's played a bit in midfield as well for Forest. And I think that really shows in his all-round game. And yeah, again, I think he's come on in leaps and bounds, but you're right. That is the final step for him, I think. And then after that, if he can add that end product, if he can add a few goals a season, if he could get a few more assists, I think you've got a complete fullback there. I really do. I don't think there's many other elements to his game that you can really criticise, to be honest. So yeah, you're right there, mate. And I think the fullbacks are going to come under a lot of scrutiny. We saw how high they were playing yesterday. I thought Young had a good game as well. We've seen already what Gerrard demands of his fullbacks. So I imagine that's going to be high on the agenda.
Absolutely. And speaking of, Dan, players who are just coming into their own, Marvellous Nakamba, man. Another solid performance from Marv. And I think what's remarkable, I think there is some fair criticism to be had about the passing from Marv, but 39 of 42 passes were accurate, 93% pass accuracy. They're safer passes, that has to be said. He plays the short passes, the 1-2s. But what really impresses me about Marv is when Villa are being pressed and are in high pressure situations, this man, he just doesn't flop it, mate. He doesn't flop it. He was one of the most fouled players on the pitch yesterday, 3 fouls. He made 4 clearances, 2 tackles, was only dribbled past the once. It's another solid performance from Marvellous. And, I think for a few weeks, mate, we've been sat here umming and ahhing about, right, transfer rumor mill season. It's time to cash in on some views. Let's talk about some players. Glenn Kamara has been the one. I don't even think there's a point because Marvellous has been wonderful, mate.
He really has.
We're totally going to do that podcast, by the way, just to cash in.
Yeah, obviously. It'd be rude not to.
But Marvellous, leaps and bounds above Glenn Kamara. Yeah,
mate. Right now, he's undroppable. He really is. There was so much. If you wind back a couple of seasons, it was really, in terms of that 6th spot, it was just rotating between Marvellous and Douglas. It felt like the best of a bad situation. Neither of them could lay it down. Neither of them were playing very well there, to be honest with you, in that first season. And we just put one in one week, drop in the next, put the other in, and we'd sort of just swap the 2 around. And for the longest time, that 6th position has been a real it's what we wanted in the summer, wasn't it? It was like, that was the final piece. We want this 6. We want this 6. And we didn't get it. And I feel like Marv's put in a lot of work to make that his own. And I'm buzzing for him, mate. I'm buzzing for him because, this guy was playing Champions League football, let's not forget, before he came to the Villa. Yeah. This has been his level. Like, this is what he can do. And I think it's another example of sometimes you just got to give players time. It's why, I think we need to just take with guys like Buendia and Bailey, like these new boys that are coming in, like Ings as well, to a certain extent, that have struggled to find their way into the team or find their best form, is that sometimes it can just take this long. But if you do give players patience and you do give them time, look at what they can become. As I said, Marvelous Nakamba, I remember, he was putting in performances against Atletico Madrid and stuff like that. And it sort of felt like a far cry away from the player that we've got in the first 2 seasons, really. But now here we are, nailed down a spot in the 11. He's a player that we don't have another like in the squad. So he's absolutely crucial in the role that he plays. And I feel like you're right in saying that he feels a bit more comfortable on the ball as well now, mate. And I think that's just a confidence thing. I think that's all it is. I don't think he's really done much work on. I think it's just a confidence thing because whenever Marv got pressed before, we sort of watched it between our fingers, didn't we? Like you're like, oh, it looks so uncomfortable. But now it's I don't even sweat it. And I said I think it's just because he's got his mojo. He knows what he's doing now. He knows that he's playing a good game, and so he feels a bit more confident in those situations. And that's brilliant, mate. That's brilliant. I love this story. I love Marv as a guy. His reaction to Ezri's goal is just, I think you've seen it from the whole. It's just so heartfelt. Could be. I love these sort of turnaround stories, mate. And Marv, good on you, mate.
I mean, yeah, we're witnessing, I think, him just kind of get what he deserves, really. I think, come under a bit of unfair criticism at his time at Villa. But again, it's a testament to Gerrard and his coaching staff, really, that you can take it, you can kind of turn around the fortunes of a player this quickly. And Marv is a very important member of this current squad right now. So I feel like we shouldn't forget that. But Dan, it would be rude for us not to talk about that goal. That wasn't a goal. JJ denied of his first Premier League goal at Villa Park. I mean, I don't really know what to say on it, mate, because, the rules state that if a goalkeeper has a hand on top of the ball and the ground is underneath the ball, it's touching the ground, then that quantifies as control. Of course, if you watch it in slow motion, it looks like his hand's on the ball for about 5 seconds. It's really not. And a frustrating comparison that is being drawn is, of course, Billy Sharp kicking the shit out of Lovre Kalinic when he had 2 hands on the ball and that goal was given. First, I mean, I hate Kasper Schmeichel. I really do. Like Leicester mean nothing to me. Like, if I'm being honest, didn't know who they were 10 or 15 years ago. They've won the Premier League. That's amazing. I think, everyone was a fan of Leicester that season. But them and Sky Sports try their best to forge this rivalry that isn't really there because they're like fucking 45 miles away from Villa Park. And they're nothing. Like, they're a nothing. Okay, you've won the Premier League. Nice one. It was a weird year. We got relegated, for one. I hate Kasper Schmeichel. And he's just fueled that even more, mate, because the fact that it's almost admirable that he's come out and he's backed his story and said to Laura Woods on Sky Sports that he's going to have an X-ray on his thumb. What an absolute weapon, mate. What an absolute weapon. It's a frustrating one. It's little rules like these things go under the radar at the start of the season. Of course, managers and players are briefed every season on the rule changes when it comes to things like VAR, goal and technology, stuff like this, but it's not really something that people are going to take it seriously because, the rule in itself is shocking and definitely needs changing because there is no way Schmeichel has control of that ball. And if you are Jacob Ramsey, you are more than welcome to contest that. What is he meant to just stand? Oh, it's okay. He's got, it's under control. No, in the heat of the moment, you can't tell these things, and that's where the line's being blurred, mate. These are split second decisions that are being blown out of proportion by 120 frames a second on VAR, and then we're getting the wrong decisions every single time.
Yeah, it's poor, mate. It really is. It's bad when the goalkeepers union don't even stand up for
exactly.
it. It's one of them where there's so many rules in place to protect the goalkeepers nowadays. It's one of those where it's if it's in the rule book, then it's annoying because the rules are a joke. But if it's there, I suppose it's been so contentious. I don't even know what to think about it, mate. I'm just glad that we went and got the result.
Yeah,
So I think it would have been quite raucous if that game had ended 1-1. But yeah, we got what we deserved, and I suppose it's now a footnote, isn't it? But yeah, lucky it didn't cost us.
I mean, to be honest, Michael got some dog's abuse, man, in the second half from the whole end. It was brutal. Like, he tried to firm it as well. Like, when he walked out at half time,
Yes.
he was just like staring at the
Saw
whole
it.
end. Like, you're not going to intimidate like 16,000 people in the stands. Like, that's just not going to work, especially when most of them think you're a wanker anyway. So it was great to see him get that abuse. I hope he didn't sleep well last night. I also hope James Maddison didn't sleep well last night either, because this game would have been rent-free in his head for a while, being a little Cov fan. Again, another irrelevant team to the Villa that they seem to have a problem with. The thing is, I like personalities in the game. I think it's the one thing that we're missing. The Premier League has become sanitised. But James Maddison, mate, like, this guy has got too much confidence for a man whose hairline is like at the back of his head. Like, it is a joke. This guy needs to chill out. And it was playing the victim card as well, Max. When they scored, he goes to the whole end. He does that. He just, it made you look, right? And I'm not going to sit here and support the person who threw whatever they threw at him, because that is wrong. That is a disgrace. You should not do that. But when he picks it up and he's acting the victim, you've goaded people. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got, like, of course it shouldn't happen. I'm not saying it should. But you got to expect that stuff like that's going to happen when you're being a little wanker to the whole stadium. Like, nobody likes you, mate. You are completely irrelevant. You've fallen off. Jack Grealish is light years ahead of you. Yeah, I mean, I've made it sound like I really care about Leicester Town. I promise you, I don't.
And breathe, Danny boy.
Breathe. But that's it. We're gonna have to cut this out. But no, mate, it was good to see. But yeah, I think overall, Villa, please just be more clinical, because I mean, it could have been about 4 or 5 yesterday. Obviously, I mean, we've not even got to how shocking Michael Oliver was. It was Michael Oliver.
Yeah.
One of the worst refereeing performances I think I've seen to date. The fact that he's given a foul, especially on McGinn, when Ndidi has literally just thrown himself to the floor. McGinn goes and rounds Schmeichel. I mean, of course, the whistle's blown. He scores because you play on anyway, as Watkins did as well, which was completely and utterly a farce. That was given as a foul in favour of Johnny Evans. If you can't go shoulder to shoulder with the defender, what can you do? As you were saying, mate, there's too many rules that are being put in to protect players now. And it's just frustrating. And as well, Schmeichel's gone in 2 studs up on John McGinn when he's gone to round him there. If John McGinn had got up and chinned Schmeichel, he would have got a red card, right? But despite it being after the whistle's blown, but Schmeichel doesn't even get a yellow card for that. It's just frustrating, man. I don't know. It's it probably shouldn't matter.
I feel you, mate. I feel you.
Won the game, but it feels like it's just a battle every week. Like, the referee is the 12th man for whoever we're playing against. But no, overall, mate, to beat Leicester, I know they're in a bit of a dodgy patch at the moment. Absolutely massive, and with where we're going next Saturday, mate, 3 points, the confidence that this will give them is absolutely what we need, mate, for the trip to Liverpool.
100%. Yeah, it's one of those, mate, where, to be honest with you, I treat next weekend as a bit of a free hit, because after that, I think it's Norwich and Burnley, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know what? If we're going to go down fighting like we did against Man City, I don't care how. Like, if that's the way we're going to lose games, it really doesn't bother me. I'll lose games like that, however often, because when you're just simply beaten because the other team have that kind of ability at their disposal, then it's fine. If we're going to go down fighting like that, and I imagine that will be the case if we do end up losing at Anfield, then I'm fine with that. You can't have any qualms with that. We sat here really positive after that defeat to Manchester City, and if that's the way that we're going to go down fighting, fine by me. If we do that at Anfield and then go and take points from Norwich and Burnley, that's still a very successful run.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So if you guys enjoyed this video, let us know by hitting a like and commenting your thoughts below. Also, we're so close to 5,000 subscribers. It could happen by the end of the year. So if you guys are listening to this and aren't subscribed, which is about 50% of you, we'd really appreciate it if you click subscribe, hit the bell button so you never miss a podcast from us here. at heart of the Heart. So yeah, as I said, if you enjoyed, hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. Up the Villa.